Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Champions of Self podcast. I'm Ben Eden, your host, and I'm happy to welcome today Beata Seweryn-Reid. She is from Poland, but living in Colorado. Beata, hello there and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here. And you did it. You pronounced my name awesomely.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that.
No problem. So you are a transformational coach, but why don't you tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So like you already revealed, I'm originally from Poland. Yes, it's not a Colorado accent, but I live in US and Colorado almost 10 years. You said I'm transformational coach, but what I really do, what is my passion, it's helping and empowering people through change and transition. Because I personally went through so many changes and transitions, and the most important part that I found during my journey was the thinking that was in the way. So I'm helping, I empower people thinking, and they focus, we together do this job, but so they focus on their strengths and ability to meet challenges successfully.
Very good. And this podcast, for anybody who's new to it, is full of stories from lots of different people in different walks of life and how they learned to understand and acknowledge their emotions so then they could have power over them. Beata is now a transformational coach, but Beata, tell us a bit more about your story. What have you gone through and what brought you to where you are today?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I have to take you way back with me to Poland a little bit. So my first live interaction, we all have it, like, come on, if you are kidding yourself that life is not going to happen to you, I'm going to disappoint you now. My first live interaction was when I was just 7 years old. I was happy kid, first grade student, and on the way home, when my father picked me up after school, we had accident. And for me, it was very traumatic. I had a traumatic brain injury. And the doctor's prognosis was not too optimistic. And I was labeled, and it's what I woke up after, I don't even how many hours or days after surgery. I woke up to the conversation between the doctor and my mom, and he was saying that, ma'am, you need to be realistic. Your kid will never be normal. She won't be normal like the other kids. So this was the label that I inherited in myself for many years. It was
that's tough to hear.
Right, especially when you're just a kid. First, you don't really understand what is normal, but then you start compare. There was so many restrictions. You can run, you can read, you can play. There was like do nothing, just sit, and you're a kid. You want to live your life. Anyway, to speed up a little bit of that story, I took that label with me for most of my life. And so it's what happens when life is giving you hard times. You try to fight it or you give up. I was the fighter. So I was very hard on myself and it was painful. I call it invisible pain because no one outside could tell, except my mom, because she knew me very well, that I have this emotional pain, that I want to measure up to what the society is telling me that I should be, that my grades should be like these other kids. So I was blaming myself that I'm not enough if I didn't measure up in something. But then I grew up, I was a fighter, so I was moving on and did a lot of stuff that they said, the doctors, that I won't be able. But this inner belief, this little voice when the life was happening was like, hello, we are still here. You are not enough. Hello, we are here. So the doubt and all this, hard times were coming. And I was probably about 20 years old. I was just, matching the boxes off and going with my life. trying to not think about that I might not be enough or whatever. And I met this beautiful man. And in my country at that time, it was, well, you can study, you can get educated. It's great to have master or whatever degree, but the number one thing for you as a woman is to have family and to have this man that will take care of you. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was kind of weird hearing like taking care of me. I didn't like that saying, but you do what they say. So I met this beautiful man, and we were together for 11 years. And here you go, when you think that you figure out this life, another life interruption occurred. And just before our 11th anniversary, my beautiful man walked away. And I was so lost. I was so lost because I already planned my life. I did what they said I can't. Now I thought that I got even a bonus because, come on, I'm probably not quite normal like other people, but I've got this beautiful man and we were so happy for so long. And then boom, no, it's not everything is for you. So again, I went to this 7-year-old mindset, like you are not enough, you cannot have everything what the other people have. And the pain that was, this, I'm sure some of you can relate, like you cannot even explain, but it's just crushing you from the inside out. And my throat was always so tight, and I was walking even, like so people can't see me because they might find out. So I was struggling with this inner pain, the inner invisible struggles, not letting other people really know what I'm going through, because I'm tough. Yes, I'm tough. I can do anything, but not on the inside. On the inside, I was not happy at all. And it was the time when I, instead of really think for myself and not think about what other people think of me, I went into this victim story, and it took me a couple years to actually realize I was so miserable. I was so in such a pain because of what I was telling myself, because I'm sure you have it in your coaching and you probably experience as well. It's not really about what is going on around you. It's not what the outcomes are, but it's about the story that you are telling yourself. And I was telling over and over to myself the same story. You're not enough. Even if you get there, probably something else will happen. So yes, I was sabotaging myself, expecting that even if I get what I want, something will happen and will, interrupt my happy life. So right. I was living like that for a couple of years, depressed, looking for help with the doctor. I had a couple sessions, but I didn't feel that it was helping me. And back in the time in Poland, I don't know, I probably got to not the right person, but he was like, oh, you are young, you will go through it. Come on, you are so young, you will find another person. And when I'm okay, I would say, oh yeah, it's like motivation kind of, but I was in pain. I wanted to die. I was dead on the inside. And these words were not helping. So I learned to run away. I ran away from my feelings, I ran away from my thoughts, and, go do the job, come back home, cry until I fall asleep. And it was very miserable, unhappy life. But, enough is enough. Sometimes you just hit the wall. Sometimes you have to reach the rock bottom, and it's when you wake up. The waking up, it was when I was getting ready for work and looking in the mirror, that's dark, after crying, red eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, who are you? Who are you? I don't even like you. Who would like to be with you, or who would like to spend some time with you? I had a couple of friends, as I said, I learned to run away. So I ran from this small town, sorry, where I used to live, to a big capital city, but still was not happy. And at that day, when I was looking in the mirror, I decided that it's not what the 7-year-old girl was dreaming about. In deep inside, she knew that she has gifts, that she wants to live better life. So what are you doing? And on that day, I decided to change.
Good. Before you
Yes.
go into the how you changed, I just wanted
Yes.
to point out a few things, because there's so many good things, and we'll keep people in suspense. That's good for them sometimes. So some things that you've mentioned a couple times that I want to make sure the listeners recognize. You said that there were times that you ran from your pain, that you fought your pain, or that you just tried not to think about the pain. And what are some things that came from doing that? Well, you tried to have society's expectations fix that pain, right? You said, well, if I get good grades, everybody says I should. Or this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to marry a man, a great man that's going to make life perfect. And those external solutions didn't do much to help with that internal pain, correct?
Correct.
And also, anyway, you just mentioned a lot of great things. I also liked how you mentioned what the emotions felt like. Sometimes, well, it's very important to know what the emotions are called, but sometimes when we don't know the name, it helps to describe the pain. So like what you were saying, where I felt crushed or so dark inside or just so heavy, and even my body language started to show it. That's huge. People can relate to that. And this is what we're going to get into, but the emotions that occurred in your mind when you were a 7-year-old, and when you heard that phrase, all of a sudden those emotions that existed were never resolved. And that's what stuck with you and caused the body language, or caused the self-doubt, and caused this, that, and the other. So then, and we're getting back to your awesome part of the story, right? What you did when you looked in the mirror, that is connecting to your body. Too many of us, we get lost in life where we say, I'm running from it, I'm fighting it, or I just don't want to think about it. So in analogy, we never truly look at ourselves in the mirror. We may see the body and, okay, sure, I look good enough to go to work, but we never really look in our eyes and say, who is that person? And do I love that person? Yes, I love that person. Here's why, those kinds of things. So I'm explaining the principles behind your story so that people listening can see why it's so powerful, and that they can do the same thing. One last thing. This is an actual principle that people can do. When you're brushing your teeth at night or in the morning or whenever, if you truly look at yourself in the mirror, look at yourself in the eyes, not just at the parts of your body you're not happy with. Look at yourself in the eye and ask the questions that you said. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Who can I become? What can I do about it? Empowering thoughts. Don't listen to the thoughts that say, oh, you're not perfect, you're stupid, you're not good enough, yada, yada. We've always heard from those voices, but we can do something about it. Anyway, back to you.
Right. And if I can just add, because you also said so many beautiful things. So for me, when I looked at the mirror, and I'm sure many of you can relate, it's like, it's analogy to facing the fears that for so long it was like in a storage. So when I look in the mirror, I had to face the fears and take ownership from now. I knew that I'm not happy. So I had to take responsibility for who I want to become from now on. And this looking at the mirror is so important. And like you said, you might not like how you look, you might not like parts of your body, but you deep inside, you love yourself because you are here. And go to that feeling, smile. It can feel stupid kind of, or weird or silly, but I learned to smile at myself in the mirror when I wake up in the morning. It changed your body language, changed your feelings. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we highlight that part as well, the facing the fears, the mirror of your life.
Right. And I like this. This is good. This is where the authentic conversation comes in, because you reminded me of an idea that no change comes until we take responsibility for where we are now. I'll say that one more time. No change comes until we take responsibility for where we are now. So like what you were saying, if we're stuck in the victim mode where we blame our circumstances, well, guess what? Change can't happen because we haven't taken responsibility for where we are. It's not to say, well, I'm to blame for what happened, or I'm such a terrible person for what happened. It's simply to say, yes, this happened, but now what can I do about it?
Absolutely. And I want to add that we are 100% responsible for the outcomes, what really happened up until now in our life. And it's hard, really hard to admit it, because there's a lot of stuff that we might not like, but by taking responsibility, you can, you know, start taking the next step towards positive change. Because, well, all these changes that were happening up until now for me, and I want to highlight that too, that change is a fact. This is event that happens, and you might have, you know, what is it? You might have power over that, or you might not. And most of us, we just are surprised with unwanted changes, like I was. And that transition that I was talking about, and change and transition code, the transition part is the inner work. It's the emotions that we have to, you know, you have thoughts that creates feelings, and your feelings creates behaviors. And if there is no match, you will be freezed, or you will run away, or you will pray
Pretend
and
it doesn't exist, yes.
yeah, you will just say, okay, just please life change the outcomes for me. It's not going to happen without your action. But to go further with my story, so
Sure.
I decided it's not for me, this life that I was living for so long. I want to move forward. So I figured out, because I was a good runner, that I'm gonna move to United States. Yes, it's far enough to leave all this emotional pain behind me, all these crazy stories that happened to me, and I didn't want it. So I moved to United States, and soon after, with one luggage, whatever, I landed. Soon after, I started this new life, excited. Oh my gosh, United States opportunities are around. And what I found out, where you go, there you are. All your emotions, all your stories are, you know, they flew with me. I could not leave them. You cannot detach until you go through it. So I had to work through my pain. It's not about anything outside. It's about you and what you told yourself about your life. So I found a coach. Finally, I found the right person, and she introduced me to journaling. And it was just, oh my gosh, it was so powerful that finally, not only that I could emotionally go through my pain, but I could see it. I could see it written down in my journal, that this story that you were living your entire life is not even yours. It's all these people that they were telling you, the society, the doctors, even your family and friends. You are not the stories. So I decided to write a new story, and it's a very, you know, short version of what actually I was going through, because it's very deep transformation working with writing. I'm not sure if you do it for yourself, but if you never did it, please, I encourage you. And I have wonderful question that I learned from my coach, and I think it's very useful for everyone. When you have these stories, on maybe only in your mind, or when you write them down, it's even better, so you can really see them. Ask yourself, if you say, oh, I'm not good enough for whatever job or partnership or whatever, according to who? Because at that moment, when you say, even close your eyes and say, according to who, you're gonna have the picture of the person or the voice in your head. You're gonna see it. It could be your coach, it's like back in the time at school, or your mom, dad, who knows? There is gonna be someone. If not, it's probably you. And what kind of experts are they or you on this, telling yourself that you are not good enough? I had to learn that. Oh my gosh, it was so challenging, because I thought that I'm expert from managing myself, but obviously I was not. I had to learn new skills. I had to learn new way of thinking about myself, because even I was tough on the outside, I was so weak on the inside. And to really live life fully, you have to be strong from the inside out.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to bring up, many times the listeners have probably heard that we should write about our emotions and what we're going through. So if somebody's listening and saying, my goodness, we hear this all the time, here's something. First of all, repetition is the mother of skill. You may have heard that before, so that's why it comes up all the time. But here's something cool that Beata just taught us. If you're already writing about your emotions and you're like, well, it's just not really working for me, then she just taught you something on top of it that you can do. So you can write out your emotions or your thoughts and your feelings, and then add according to who. That helps us challenge the thoughts in our mind and say, is this true? Or is this something that somebody's been telling me my whole life? Or is it coming from the negative influence or the devil trying to tell me that I'm a terrible person? If so, I don't need to believe those things. They have no room in my mind. Get out, and I will replace them with better things. So with this principle of writing, it is something that works. So if you're already doing it and you're feeling, well, it doesn't really work anymore, think of this. There's a possibility that either you've gotten a little, let's say, lazy
Right.
in the practice, and maybe you're not doing everything you should with it, or maybe you just need a little bit of extra knowledge or encouragement, just like Beata gave us, a fresh idea that you can try. I encourage you to try it.
If I can add here, or you are trying to run away and do not face something what the story that you started writing down. There is a fear, and it's very often with my clients and for me, when I could not write, I said to my coach, okay, I don't know, I think I'm stuck, I cannot write, I don't know. She sent me the prompt, and so I don't know, and she said, okay, let's go deeper. What are you trying to avoid here? And of course, it was not about the story. It was about the feelings that I was trying to avoid. I didn't want to go there because it was painful. It was not comfortable. It was uncertain. And usually the stories are about that we are not enough or we are stuck. And I love Bob Proctor quote. He said, it's not who you are that holds you back, but it's who you think you are not that holds you back. So usually in this writing, you're gonna find out who you think you are not according to you, and what kind of expert you are to tell yourself that you're not enough.
Right. Very good. Keep going.
Yes. So to end kind of my story, it was the moment when I found, yes, so it's another thing. Well, let me tell you the 3 steps that I did. First of all, if you are going through change or transition, whatever happens in your interruption challenge, you have to get clear. You have to pause and get clear. How did I get here? Do I want to stay? If not, then you have to do something. And it's hard to see from the inside of the box sometimes. So go and reach for someone, for friend, coach, therapist, whoever who can, show you just the next step. Then when you get clear where you are and where you want to go, because another great person, I don't remember his name, but said, if you don't know where you are going, it doesn't matter what path you're gonna pick, yes? So be clear, then be confident in yourself that you are able to walk this distance from where you are to where you want to be. And it's nothing else, this confidence that I talk about is nothing else like stretching, not even jumping. Hear it, don't jump out of your comfort zone, just stretch it every day, inch by inch. And then finally, when you see that you are moving forward, take courageous actions. Without actions, and I already mentioned that, nothing is gonna happen. Without action, there is no movement. Without movement, there is no results. So this is what I did for myself, and it's what took me here where I am today. I coach other people who feel stuck, who feel that the change that they went through is so freaking terrible, and they decided to stay where they are. No, because if you would like to stay where you are in this misery, you would not feel the pain in the inside. You would not long for something different in your life. So I help people to change their stories so they can change their emotions, and then the action comes into play.
Very good. So listeners, I hope you noticed what just happened. What Beata and I were talking about. We give practical tools that you can try for yourself. How to write, what to write, how to think, how to challenge your thoughts. These aren't just cool principles that we think are just fun to talk about. These are things that we know work. So if you try them, then you will make steps forward. Then the benefit of having a coach is that you can bounce those ideas off them and say, hey, here's what happened. What else can I do? And then we see outside the box, like Beata was saying, we can see what's going on because of our perspective and our expertise. And we can say, all right, let me point out what's working, celebrate your wins, and let me point out an opportunity too. And then we say, oh my goodness, I'm making progress.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about. Okay, well, this has been fantastic. Anything you'd like to leave us with, Beata?
No, I love what you said about progress. And I want to really encourage people to write, because when you write down, you see your progress right there. Like it happened to me after 10 weeks of journaling. I went to the first journal and recording, and I was like, oh my gosh, who is that person? Do I even know her? So that this transformation is happening, but you just don't see it. But it can happen. Change is possible. Change is good, because without change, you can stay stuck somewhere where you don't belong.
Absolutely. Now let's see if I can get this quote right, because this thought came to me. If you read your journal 10 weeks prior and you remember who you were, there is a possibility, and I speak from experience, of saying, I can't believe I was that person. And then you go back into the dark thoughts again and say, my goodness, I can't believe I was that way. But there's a quote, and let's see if I get it right. Don't judge your past self by the knowledge that you now have, right? So just celebrate that you are now 10 weeks different and 10 weeks better, and say, yeah, I was that person, but I am that person no longer. I've come so far. So celebrate those wins. And if you do feel yourself reading 10 weeks prior and having those thoughts, what do? Beata just taught us. You write them down and work through them. Or work with a coach, whatever's going to help you.
Absolutely. Just do something. Don't stay and wait for some, savior who's going to come and save you. No one is coming. You are the one who needs to do the work.
Mm-hmm. So not only are they the ones that need to do the work, but they can do it. They have the potential, which is awesome. Okay. Well, Beata, if somebody does want to connect with you on social media to learn more, how can they do so?
Absolutely. So you can do it through my website. It's Beata, BEATA, lifecoaching.com, or Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But Facebook is my favorite place, I guess.
All under that same name, right?
Right. It's Beata Seweryn, Seweryn, hyphenated Reid, REID. I'm sorry to make your life a little bit difficult.
Hey, no worries. We'll put it in the notes so they'll all have it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. This has been a great conversation. And listeners, I hope you got some valuable tools out of it. Like I mentioned, feel free to reach out to either of us if you'd like some more help. Otherwise, please apply some of these tools and see what they can do for you. Thank you for joining another episode of the Champions of Self podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.